Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling a little bit of this clip from the Timcast IRL's YouTube channel titled, U.S. Government is Expanding Emergency Bunkers for Government, Signaling Major Catastrophe is Coming. And through the scriptures, we know major catastrophes are coming. Famines, pestilences, world wars, nuclear wars, mass death and destruction. And that's because we're living in the last seconds of the last days of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the biblical Edomites, who are known as these so-called white people, before the second coming of Yahawashi Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven under Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi and the children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. And when we see information like this, and then hearing the news about Biden saying there's going to be nuclear Armageddon, or Russia and Putin and his affiliates constantly making threats towards the West in using nuclear weapons, we know that, as it says in Romans chapter 13, our salvation is nearer than when we believed. So now more than ever, Akim, we should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as we possibly can to make our calling and election sure and be safe from these calamities of Jacob's trouble, which are quickly coming our way. And before I start this clip, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
From the U.S. Sun, ready for nuke Armageddon inside doomsday bunkers designed by U.S. government to withstand nuclear apocalypse and restart America in case of wipeout. They say the U.S. government...
And first and foremost, there is going to be no restart of America after 200 million nuclear missiles hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. It doesn't matter how deep these bunkers are or whatever other hiding places these higher-ups in America have. If you're in America when nukes hit this place and you're not of that elect number of the nation of Israel, you're going to be completely wiped off the map. Just more fuel for the fire.
Government built several doomsday nuclear... Look at these pictures. Why would they even show anybody? This is Cheyenne Mountain. Can withstand a 30 megaton nuclear bomb. Oh, okay. So you mean it can't withstand the Satan II missile? What's the point? Thanks for telling us.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, I see these videos, I see these photos, these stories about Mount Weather. Am I really supposed to believe that Raven Rock, Mount Weather, these facilities are the legitimate facilities for our government when we all know they exist? And 30 megatons, is that it? Come on. So our bomb...
And that's a good point Timcast made. The government... How much truth does the government actually tell the average American citizen? These older things like Cheyenne Mountain and NORAD could just be the older shit that they let people know about. Best believe that they have much more advanced bunkers and other hideaway places out there to try to survive the coming catastrophes of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi. But again, anybody that is not of the elect of the nation of Israel in the United States of America, when these nukes hit this place, are not going to make it.
Obama was 100 at full capacity. Not that they're going to get a bomber over it.
But taking out an underground fortified facility is not easy. You have to have tremendously good accuracy. I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska, 60 miles from Offutt Air Force Base Strategic Air Command headquarters, one of the top nuclear targets. And I remember reading one day that the accuracy of Russian Soviet missiles was about 50 miles. Although that's great, they're going to aim it off and they're going to hit me in Lincoln. I mean, they're not that accurate. Now that's improved a lot. Our weapons have improved a lot. But when was the last time we even detonated a nuclear weapon? It's been about 30 years. We got rid of underground nuclear testing. So for a nuclear weapon to go and take out something like Mount Weather, it'd have to be very, very accurate. Weapon would have to have, its full yield.
But why?
which is exactly what those missiles are going to be capable of when they hit the United States of America. And this Edomite may have knowledge in the world, but he errs knowing the scriptures. If he had an understanding of the scriptures, he would know that the United States of America is going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. And doesn't matter how deep these mountain bases are, or how deep these underground bunkers are, the nukes that these Russians have now can go hundreds of miles underground, maybe even thousands of miles. That's how powerful they are. And the Most High put the spirit on those Russian Edomites to make such powerful weapons, to make a speedy riddance of the United States of America.
They're probably not going to have that accuracy. So I think they will survive in Mount Weather.
No, I'm saying they've got to have other bunkers we don't know about.
Well, they have a lot of them. There's Site R, there's quite a few.
Now let's get into some precepts real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. And this isn't talking about the ancient Medes who were Japhites. This is talking about the spiritual Medes, these Russian Edomites who now inhabit the former lands of the tribes of Japheth. And besides being known as the Medes in Isaiah chapter 13, Russia is also known as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, and the North Country in Jeremiah chapter 50, which that chapter deals with the destruction of the United States of America, which biblically is known as Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, that whore in Revelation chapter 17. And Russia is going to be the main nation that's going to lead this nuclear strike against the United States of America, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. When the time comes for those Russian Edomites to turn the keys on those nukes to shoot them, nothing will stop them from doing so. They're going to have the spirit of the Most High on them to fulfill prophecy. No peace talks, FRNs, nuclear weapons treaties or bans or anything is going to stop biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and bows shoot arrows. So that's symbolic for the launch platforms and silos that these nuclear missiles are going to be fired from. Because when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they weren't going to say a Satan II nuclear warhead, an ICBM, or anything like that. They described it with what they knew during their times, ancient weapons of war like bows and arrows, spears, javelins, flying swords. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. Again, anybody left in the United States of America that is not of that elect number of the nation of Israel, and you're just going to be more fuel for the fire for these nuclear missiles, no escape. And Babylon, that daughter of Babylon, the United States of America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And the Most High overthrew ancient Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone from the sky. And he's going to overthrow this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah with modern fire and brimstone. Those 200 million nuclear missiles. And besides being known as Babylon in the scriptures, the United States is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8, which is very easy to see. Just go look up this movie that just came out and failed miserably at the box office called Bros. This is the number one country that pushes the alphabet lifestyle, beginning with LG, onto not only its own citizens, but the rest of the planet. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. So that completely cuts what they were saying in that clip from Timcast IRL about the US government surviving, or anybody surviving this nuclear strike. When these nuclear missiles hit this place and make end of the United States in 1 hour, as pursuant to Revelation chapter 18, man, woman, or child will never set foot on this place ever again. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. And after a time, only desert creatures are going to dwell here. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And when we see information about the U.S. government preparing for nuclear Armageddon, we know that the times of the end of the United States of America, Babylon the Great, is very near to come. Now I'm going to jump to Isaiah chapter 34. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, God's wrath against the nations, the heathen nations. And at the top of that list are you Edomites. Just read Isaiah chapter 63. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments, from Basra? And that's speaking of Yahushai returning to personally make war against you Edomites. Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. This is speaking about those heathen nations as militaries getting gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat in that Middle Eastern region for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the real part of World War III, which you can read about in Joel chapter 3. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. And there's going to be a great slaughter of heathens as militaries in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Not just them killing each other, but Yahushai also getting into the fray, which you can further read about in 2 Esdras chapter 13. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And this is speaking about those nuclear missiles. And where it says the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, that's talking about that mushroom cloud. Because after the nuclear missile detonates and that mushroom cloud goes up and billows into itself, it looks like a scroll being rolled into itself. And all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Speaking of those nuclear missiles flying through the skies or the heavens, the first heaven, which is the regular sky, and some of the second heaven, low orbit space, those ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, and upon the people of my curse, to judgment. You Edomites are the nation that is truly hated by Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. You have the curse of biblical leprosy, and you're the only nation that's going to be cut off after the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven being established. Just read the book of Obadiah, which is dealing completely with your destruction. The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. And this is symbolic for the United States of America being a sacrificial altar for the destruction that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is going to bring to it by those nuclear missiles. For Yahweh had a sacrifice in Basra, and Basra was an ancient chief city of the Edomites. And what's the chief city of the Edomites today? The United States of America. And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? And the unicorns shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. You heathen nations, chiefly you Edomites, confederating yourselves against the nation of Israel to cut them off from being a nation, which you can read about in Psalms chapter 83. And the chief nation that did so were you Edomites. And the streams thereof shall be turned to pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, fire and brimstone, the land getting burned up by those missiles. It shall not be quenched, night nor day, the smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever. And after a time, the dust and the smoke and the fire is going to settle. But this is just talking about that fire and that smoke is going to last for a long time, because America's a very big country, and getting hit with 200 million nuclear missiles is going to cause a lot of damage. And remember, There are nuclear reactors here and other things that when they catch on fire, they're going to burn for a long time. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, only desert creatures dwelling here after a time. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. And what that means is that the United States is going to be a desert from the East Coast to the West Coast. You won't be able to differentiate Louisiana from Texas to California or anywhere. And to think about it like this, on a map, what do you have to separate the different states? Lines. And if there's a line of confusion, that means you don't know, they're pretty much you're confused to where one place is from the other. You can't differentiate. But let's get back to this clip.
In Pennsylvania, again, you guys are kind of in a bad place for nuclear weapons here.
I disagree,
Camp
actually.
David, you got the Pentagon, you got DC, you got Mount Weather, you got SIDAR.
I don't
Again,
think-
they're not that accurate. So if they're aiming at them, they could end up landing on you.
I think, well, first, before we get into the nuclear stuff, I wanted to ask you about driving past Mount Weather. They're doing construction there.
Oh, a lot of it. And I say that's above ground, and most of it's underground. So I can't imagine what's going on underground. So it's already been a huge FEMA facility.
Can we
for
got to get some
Congress.
reporting on this. We got to send somebody to go interview somebody.
To get disappeared, you mean?
Politely request an interview.
The government is very secretive, especially about their other facilities that they don't talk about, that there's no pictures of, that there's no talk about. There's no talking about. There's a lot of underground facilities that the United States has been investing in. There's a reason the Pentagon has secret clandestine black budgets. There's a reason why so much money is missing from the federal coffers, because a lot of times they're spending it on a lot of top secret projects that are underground facilities that they have already implemented that no one even knows about.
Like black sites, yeah.
And
again,
black,
it's-
the black sites are in Egypt and Poland
So-
and
so
other places around the world where
tell
they
me-
torture people, but that's a different scenario.
I'm interested in Mount Weather because it's very close to where we are. And so, what's the gist of this? Can you tell us the basic, like, what is it?
Sure, it's an underground shelter. FEMA defends it on the surface, and the military troops will be there as well. But it's a place where congressmen will go. It's fairly close to D.C., so they can whisk them off there. And they've got fantastic facilities. They even have media rooms, so the congressmen can continue to, transmit to their constituents and, not lose votes if there's another election, I guess. But they
And when those nukes hit that place, as we just saw in those precepts, nobody is going to survive. Best believe everybody on this panel is not going to survive either. That's it with this clip. But we went into how it doesn't matter if the U.S. government is preparing bunkers to save their higher-ups. If they're in the United States of America, they're not going to make it. But if the U.S. government is preparing for this, how much more the elites out there, your Rothschilds and Rockefellers, and people like that who actually understand the scriptures and know that this destruction's coming. They're making their own underground bunkers outside of the United States of America and other places to try to escape the destruction of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But that's going to be futile as well. If you escape the nuclear destruction, you only survive because you're going to be the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven, which is also a part of biblical prophecy. This is Isaiah chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 17. And the loftiness of man, the proudness of man shall be bowed down. And who's the proudest nation of people on the face of the earth? These Edomites. As it says in Obadiah, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. And the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. And when these nuclear missiles shake the earth to and fro like a drunk man, as it says in Isaiah chapter 24, that's going to kill a lot of people's pride out here, especially these elites who the Most High has had in a trick bag for the longest time. These elites honestly thought that they were doing everything themselves by their own power to establish their NW0, their GREATRESET, that fourth industrial revolution, and that they were just going to sit at their table and enjoy their meal and sail off into the sunset, as it says in Job chapter 20. But as it also says in Job chapter 20, and I'm roughly paraphrasing, when he's about to sit down to eat, that's when the Most High is going to strike him through with that iron weapon, and that fire not kindled is going to burn in his dwelling places, these nuclear missiles hitting everywhere these Edomites dwell and putting an end to their NW0 ambitions. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. All these left-handed deities and demons, which these elites went to for answers, they're all going to be put to an end in that day. They're already being put to an end because those left-handed demons, they're actually working for the Most High to deceive these elites and give them the confidence to push forward to only fulfill the prophecies of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And also these lower luminaries, these celebrities and other false idols they put out here are going to be put to an end in that day, whether getting killed in the lead up to these nuclear missiles or getting killed by one of these other calamities during Jacob's trouble. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth, mountain bases, underground bases, for fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth by those nuclear missiles. In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. And like I said, any of these higher-ups or elites that survived this coming destruction only survived to serve as the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. This is Amos chapter 9. I'm going to start at verse 1. I saw Yahweh standing upon the altar, and he said, Smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. And those that are trying to flee and escape are these elites and other higher-ups, and those that they're trying to flee and escape from is Yahawashi Hamashiach, as well as the 144,000, the fishers of men right now on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles online, the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, who in that day are going to be hunters of men. They're going to have those new spiritual bodies, and along with Yahawashi, they're going to go to wherever you elites and other higher-ups are hiding and drag you out like the rats you are to slap chains on you. Though they dig into hell, and when you go into that word hell in the Strongs, it's Sheol, which means the grave or underground. So underground bunkers, those domes, deep underground military bases, thence shall mine hand take them, Yahawashi the elect, Yahawashi the 144,000 of the elect. Though they climb up to heaven, going into low orbit space stations in the second heaven, which they have. Best believe they have much more than Jeff Bezos's, what's it called, Blue something, his space program, or SpaceX with Elon Musk, or Virgin X Space by Richard Brand. Thence will I bring them down. No escape in the heavens, or low orbit space either. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, going into mountain bases, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, undersea bases and luxury submarines, which you can look up that they have, there are also complete undersea highways. Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. Not only are Yahawashi and the 144,000 going to go underwater to get you, but that serpent, Leviathan, is going to attack you as well. Like I've been saying, the reason you elites and other higher-ups that survive do survive is because you're going to be the first fruits of slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Now I'm going to close it out in Psalms 149. I'm going to start at verse 4. For Yahweh taketh pleasure in his people, the children of Israel. Again, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, he will beautify the meek with salvation, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel, the first fruits of the kingdom of heaven. But all Israel will be saved, as it says in Romans chapter 8. Though the wicked of our people are going to die and get cut off on this side, they're going to be reborn through the loins of the elect, righteous in the kingdom of heaven. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. As it says in Revelation chapter 13, verses 9 to 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword, to bind their kings with chains, your elites, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, and their nobles with fetters of iron, these other higher-ups, your Bill Gateses, Elon Musks, Jeff Bezoses, they survive what's coming, these presidents and these sheiks and prime ministers, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh. So there's no escaping the destruction of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and there's no escaping the slavery of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai for you elites and other heathen nations. And again, when we see information like what we saw in that Timcast IRL clip, hey, we know that our salvation is nearer than when we believed. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope your sincere Akim and Athwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.